Nick, how you doing tonight?
Doing great, Mark. How about yourself?
I'm doing just fine. It hasn't been all of 24 hours since we talked, so I think everything's still about the same at this point. Sam Darnold last left us with an incredible Heisman performance, and Bovada certainly has taken notice, is listing him as one of the top Heisman candidates headed into 2017. So the initial list I saw had Darnold right neck and neck with Baker Mayfield of Oklahoma. I'm looking at a list right now that has him a little bit further down the line, but he definitely is the Pac-12 face of the conference at this point heading into 2017. Jake Browning, also of Washington, getting some nod for a possible Heisman run at 10-1 odds.
Yeah, I think, if anyone's going to win it out of the Pac-12 right now, you'd have to think Darnold, just because the success he has had coming. He came out what felt like, I'm sure for a lot of people outside of Los Angeles, probably felt like he kind of came out of nowhere. But he was in a big struggle for the starting job all last offseason. What concerns me though is that the preseason Heisman favorites rarely pan out and actually take the trophy home. As a matter of fact, I think Marcus Mariota might have been one of the few in the last decade who had the early hype and actually and it took Mariota 2 solid Heisman seasons to actually get one trophy, if you'll recall. So I'm concerned about that. Was anybody talking about Lamar Jackson at this time last year or even last August? I'm not even sure most people knew Lamar Jackson's name until that Florida State massacre.
Well, we were talking about him, but we talk about
everybody. We were, but unfortunately, despite my best efforts, we don't get a Heisman vote. So not super helpful. Last year at this time, Christian McCaffrey was certainly the Heisman Trust was going to rectify their egregious mistake from 2015. He dealt with injuries, new quarterback situation. He didn't pan out. It just seems like a huge factor in winning the Heisman is defying expectations. And that's really hard to do if your expectations are sky high. As a matter of fact, if your expectations are that you're going to win it, you can't beat them. And so, if I'm Sam Darnold, I try my absolute hardest to just sort of block all this out as much as you can, not talk about it, just go and take the next snap, do the next rep. Same thing if I'm Baker Mayfield or Lamar Jackson or any of these guys at the top that everybody's talking about, because it's really hard to not get what I like to call Brady Quinned, where all the hype is there, and then you just go out and get destroyed by Michigan. For those of you under the age of like 21, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But yeah, so it's really hard to overcome the hype when you are the number one guy. So I think Sam Darnold was absolutely deserving to be the early favorite, but I also think that's going to make it so much harder for him and Baker Mayfield and all these guys at the top to actually win it. So I think that's going to be tough. And, and he doesn't have the fallback, because when in doubt, just be the Alabama running back and you'll probably get in there. And since he's not that, the pressure is going to be on. The best thing he can do is just ignore all this and just focus on the next game and the next rep and the next snap, and just focus on the things you need to do to win. And if you don't get the Heisman, so be it. But you can't let it consume you, because it's only February. There's going to be a lot of talk about Sam Darnold and the Heisman and the power rankings and who's up and who's down. It'll probably drive the kid insane. So deserving, but possibly unfortunate.
Nick, to me, there are 3 things that make somebody a Heisman candidate once the games are being played, because before the season starts, it's all speculation, but that puts a lot of guys in position to either get off to a great start, or if you're not listed on this top 20, you really need to do some work to make yourself a candidate. But during the season, your team's got to win games. You've got to compile statistics, And you also need that player 2 or 3 or 4 that just grabs people, that is a Heisman moment, whether it's you scored the late touchdown to beat your arch rival or another big game, or just that spectacular play, even if it didn't really matter that much. It was just that one-handed catch or that crazy kickoff return or something that stands out in people's minds. That's that Heisman moment.
Yeah, and maybe Darnold will get that. I don't know. It's also why you see a lot of guys now, it's cool to, like, as you're running, try to leap over somebody going to tackle you with the legs, because if you'll recall, officially this never happened, but Reggie Bush very much won the Heisman in large part based on that leap. I think it was against the Fresno State guy. He leapt right over him. He also did some other crazy plays in that game. I mean, his stats were great and he was certainly deserving of it, but a lot of people are just going to remember that leap. And you see all these kids now 10 years later doing the same, when even the Syracuse quarterback is trying to leap over defenders. Everybody's trying to look for that play, and no offense to the Syracuse quarterback, I'm not trying to take shots, but everybody's looking for that Heisman moment. And Darnold could pull it off. I think at a certain point, if he just keeps racking up the stats, keeps racking up the touchdowns, and he keeps winning, it's very hard to win the Heisman if you're 7-5. I think RG3 did it over at Baylor a while back, but for the most part, you got to be in that national championship conversation, or at least close to it. So keep winning, keep racking up the stats, and if the Heisman voters actually stay up late enough to watch you, then week in and week out, then great. And if not, whatever. You can't let it define you, but you've got bigger things that you're on the precipice of your USC. But having said that, it'd be nice to get another Heisman over at Heritage Hall. I'm not going to deny that, but I don't, and frankly, I don't think that'll be Sam's focus. He just doesn't seem like the type that particularly is overly concerned about the individual stuff.
Nick, you brought up Brady Quinn and his quest for a Heisman that was derailed early in the season. I've got another. You brought up stats and somebody going 7-5 RG3 and winning the Heisman at Baylor. That seems like an impossibility, going 7-5 at Baylor and winning the Heisman. That's how good he was that season. I got one for you. This is going way back into the archives, but I'm a historian of sorts. Paul Hornung in 1956 won the Heisman Trophy at Notre Dame. His team won. Do you want to guess how many games Notre Dame won when Hornung won the Heisman out of 11 games?
Ooh. I'm going to say 5.
2. 2-9 won the Heisman. So you would think he had the most spectacular season in the history of college football. He threw 3 touchdowns. Okay, this was just a different era, and I have no idea why Paul Hornung won the Heisman Trophy, but I could go on and on about that. And
I mean, is this back in the day when it was literally like there was basically 4 to 6 college football teams, and it was Notre Dame versus everybody else?
Like, and everybody else was beating days? Notre Dame, obviously, because they went 2-9.
Clearly, but I can see some Heisman voter out in the sticks who isn't watching this stuff closely. He just sees in the paper, Notre Dame's quarterback did this. Well, he gets my vote.
That's insane, though. That's like,
all of a sudden I don't feel as bad for Christian McCaffrey anymore. That's
not even a case where, let's say, Tom Brady was named the NFL MVP in 2 or 3 years when he's throwing 15 TDs and 24 interceptions, but people are just blinded by it being Tom Brady. Paul Hornung hadn't done anything yet.
Yeah,
that's just insanity to me. Just insane to me, and I have yet to get over that one, obviously, even though I wasn't even a glimpse at that point in human history.